right, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're going to be doing another 2024 NFL mock draft. This time, it's going to be a post-free agency mock draft. Most of the big moves have kind of gotten out of the way, and Caleb Williams had his pro day today, so we'll have some news to talk about for the first overall pick. Justin Fields got traded since the last time we did a mock, so should be fun. Should be some new picks. How are you, Josh?
Doing good. It's tough seeing Keenan Allen in a Bears uniform going to Caleb Williams pro day. Kind of solidifies what's going to go down at number one. Yeah, I mean, there's a few big things that have happened. Mike Williams is signed with the Jets. Crushed my heart. Keenan Allen traded to the Bears. Justin Fields traded for a sixth round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A few big moves that have happened. But yeah, everything's pretty much settled for the most part, and I'm excited to get into this. It's the best time of the week. It's not a Monday mock, but it is a Wednesday night mock coming at you live. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, should be fun. We got a lot to get into. We're gonna go pretty in depth. Do you want to do our coin flip to see who gets pick one, or to see who chooses what pick they want?
Yes, sir. All right, we're going back to tried and true Honest Abe right here.
All right, I'm gonna go heads.
Okay, Dan's going heads. He is the visitor. Immaculate. Dan's like 3 for 3 on these. All right, Dan, what are you picking?
I don't lose these. I'm gonna make you go first this time. You're going first. You're picking for the Bears.
Hate to see it, but it is going to be, I am 99.999% positive this pick is locked in as Mr. Caleb Williams. It's the no-brainer pick. Keenan Allen going to his pro day today pretty much solidifies that it is a lock. Justin Fields is no longer on the Bears. They gave him away for pennies on the dollar. I mean, just to get into that for a second, Danny, what do you make of the trade compensation for Fields? I mean, what a sixth round pick that could turn into a fourth depending on playing time, but I mean the Steelers have already pretty much named Russell Wilson the starter.
It's interesting in a lot of different aspects. When you put into consideration that Sam Howell was essentially traded for the equivalent of a third round pick and pick swaps, that is crazy because Justin Fields clears Sam Howell as a player tremendously by far. And Justin Fields has a lot to work on himself. He definitely, he still hasn't really proved much. He has a lot to work on intellectually, reading defenses and just, being accurate downfield. So Fields will have a lot to work on. The fit with the Steelers is weird as well. I feel like, if he was to choose where he was going, choosing to go be a backup is odd. I feel like if the Broncos offered, he should have gone there to start. So I don't really know what was going on there, if that was really the best offer on the table, or it's weird on multiple aspects. But I will say I expect Fields to start probably week 5. I really don't see that Russ thing ending well. It's going to flame out quick and ugly, in my opinion. So I think it's a good trade for the Steelers. Obviously, it's a steal, and it's just interesting that Fields had no value.
Yeah, I mean, the trade was tremendous for the Steelers. I mean, essentially, I mean, you have two quarterbacks on your roster. I think what is Fields' deal? Is it like they're paying him $1.2 million? They
Yeah, we'd
traded,
have to extend him next year, which is
yeah, and that's going to be where it gets interesting. I honestly think at some point this season, Russell Wilson may get benched. I do think Fields right now, I think me and you would argue Fields is the better player. But when Russell Wilson, apparently he went to New York and New York didn't promise him a starting job. They said, you're going to have to compete with Daniel Jones. But when he went to Pittsburgh, they promised him the starting job. So it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, and I mean, we're sitting here in 2024, right? Am I right? Like, I don't think Russell Wilson is that good of a quarterback. I would take Fields upside all day long over him. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like Fields needs to sit and develop. I feel like he just needs to get into an offense that he's comfortable in. And we've seen Fields really thrive given the right system. And I think he's a whole hell of a lot better than Russell Wilson. So it is interesting, that trade. But, aside from that, Fields is gone. He's out of Chicago. We're looking for the future. It's Caleb Williams, just the no-brainer, prospect, probably, him or Marvin Harrison Jr. will be, your number one player in this entire draft. and the Chicago Bears get to start over with, a quarterback on a rookie contract. And the Chicago Bears look to be competitive immediately, drafting Justin Fields, and with their offensive weapons, they have one of the better offenses in the NFL right now.
Insert Caleb Williams with DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, Khalil Herbert, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett. You got DJ Moore, now Keenan Allen in there. It's electric. Don't really need to say
And
much.
the ninth pick too. And the ninth pick too. Just to add icing on the cake. There's just, yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, Ryan Poles has done a tremendous job since he's taken over at GM. And the Bears are looking to, be competing for the playoffs right now.
Yeah, it was beautiful stuff. I'm very confident they're going to definitely make the playoffs, honestly, at this point. I'm just confident in Caleb's ability to rally his teammates around him. And I think there's going to be a good, competent team there with Eberflus. Let's move on to pick two with the Commanders. This is an interesting one. I would say the last few weeks it was 50-50 as to if this pick would be May or Daniels. And it's starting to kind of sway into Daniels' favor right now. I would say it's more consensus that Jaden Daniels might, just be the more popular pick right here at 2 for the Commanders. People are saying he's a more Cliff Kingsbury type of guy, and I still don't know if I can fully get on board with him, man. I'm known for being lower on Jaden Daniels as a quarterback, obviously, but I think like that comparison that he's more of a Cliff quarterback is kind of just disrespectful to May's athleticism, because May is a really, really good athlete. He's a really functional athlete in the pocket. I think he's more of a Cliff type of quarterback, because people compare Jane Daniels to Kyler Murray, which is fine, but Kyler wasn't really a Cliff type of quarterback. I think that's why that situation flamed out so badly, and I think it was kind of obvious. So I think Drake May is more like Mahomes, more like Baker, more like those quarterbacks that Cliff has been comfortable with. So I still have to stick with Drake May. I think he's in a tier of his own below Caleb Williams, way above Jaden Daniels as the quarterback prospect. He is Justin Herbert, Jordan Love. To me, he really is that type of prospect, and he's going to elevate the Commanders. If he somehow falls to the Patriots, I think he's a lock to go there. So I'm still gonna trust that Cliff's smart enough to take the better quarterback, and I think he fits his scheme better too. So
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It is kind of crazy right now because it is. It seems to be swaying in the way of Jaden Daniels. He has all the hype on him right now, and it is smoke season. We hear a lot of different things, but it really does feel like it is in favor of Jaden Daniels. And I'm completely on board with you. I'm a lot higher on Drake May, and I like the upside, and I like the system with Cliff Kingsbury a whole hell of a lot better than I do Jaden Daniels. And I like the fit there when people are like, oh, well, Marcus Mariota is, I'm like, that's no. Marcus Mariota in 2024 is more like Drake May than he is Jaden Daniels. And I think the Commanders would be quite silly to pass on athlete as, just the quarterback that Drake May is. I feel like the ceiling is just so high for him. And where I just don't see the true passer yet with Jaden Daniels. I feel like he'll come in and struggle for a couple years, and I feel like I don't know. I'm blabbering out, my mouth right now, but I just I see it. I see it with Drake May. I don't see it yet with Jaden Daniels.
yeah, I think we can just lock in Drake. It is kind of 50-50 right now on consensus what this pick will be, but I think we both just trust the player. We trust that he's more of a Cliff guy, and maybe the media is just not quite seeing that fully yet. But let's go on to pick 3 for the Patriots. You considering moving down here? You going to stay pat and take a quarterback? What are you thinking?
So I mean, this is where it starts for the trade talks. I mean, we obviously have a few people, a few teams in the running for a quarterback. But the number one team that stands out on paper is Minnesota, who just traded with the Texans and now have 2 first-round picks. I don't know if I completely see it yet. I don't know. Is Jaden Daniels does he feel like a guy that Kevin O'Connell? Does he feel like a Kevin O'Connell quarterback? Because I think JJ McCarthy might be more of a Kevin O'Connell quarterback, in my opinion. Um,
Exactly. I agree. I don't think that they would trade up to 3. I think it would be to 5 for McCarthy for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm thinking here. But then also, and then I got to ponder right here. Do we take the best player in the draft right here with the most upside, Marvin Harrison, or do we take Jaden Daniels and get a quarterback because it's just so valuable? And I think a rookie head coach in his first year, they obviously don't have a quarterback right here. They have Jacoby Brissett, who I think is a good 1 year gap bridge quarterback, and I think that's the perfect situation for Jaden Daniels. And that's honestly why I think they went and got him. Is Jaden Daniels, you don't have to start in year one. You get to learn the offense. You get to get comfortable in the system. We're gonna try and build, some pieces around you. But yeah, I'm locking in Jaden Daniels here. I think, you got to get your organization excited again. I think Jaden Daniels is a polarizing, exciting prospect. And I think Patriots fans would love him. And he doesn't have to start right away because you have Jacoby Brissett on a 1 year deal, who's one of the better backups in the NFL.
Yeah, I this is what I have right now as well. It does feel like Gerard Mayo would like to bring in Jaden Daniels. It feels like he's the perfect backup for Jacoby Brissett for a year. He can, fill in whenever and being a pretty electric just playmaker for you. I think Jaden Daniels, the Patriots are starting to get some pieces around this situation. They're bringing in, KJ Osborne. They re-signed Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry. I do like those re-signings. I like the re-signing of Mike and Wayne. They're bringing in they're good free agents. They're bringing in pieces to make this evaluation for this quarterback a lot better than we kind of expected like a month ago. So I think the move is quarterback, and you can the rest of the draft you get him some weapons as well. They got Ramondre in there. I think this is the ultimate move, and it feels like this is where Jane Daniels is going to go.
Yeah, 100%. And the feeling right now too is just like you can find wide receivers, in round two, round three. The drop half at quarterback is substantial, and it is the most valuable position in all of sports. So, you don't have a quarterback on your roster. You have Bailey Zappi and Jacoby Brissett. You got to get your guy of the future. You got to get your fan base locked in, excited, and this is definitely the move.
100%. We'll move on to pick 4 with the Cardinals. This is another interesting convo. Daniel Jeremiah stated this week that could be 4 quarterbacks at the top of the draft. It could, the Vikings could trade up to 4 right here. And it's interesting. It definitely makes you think. For me personally, like just thinking about it from the Vikings perspective, you could go up to 5. I don't think you're really that scared of the Cardinals taking a quarterback. The only team that would trade up is the Raiders or Broncos. And if the Raiders or Broncos trade up to 4 for McCarthy, I think you're honestly fine with that at this point. So I think that the Vikings are going to hold out one more pick to trade up to 5. And on the other hand, I think the Cardinals have been sitting here just sweating it out, waiting for Marvin Harrison to fall to them at 4, for 2 years now. And he's finally here. I really just don't see them trading down if Marvin Harrison is on the board. Another thing is people
I
are
mean,
saying,
Monty Austinfort, he might getting 3 first round picks would be absolutely wild. And I don't know, it would be interesting. It really would be, but I don't know. I think passing, yeah, like I said, like the route you're going, I agree with, but I don't know. Monty Austinfort is a weird GM, I feel like.
yeah, you definitely couldn't fault them for acquiring all that capital and they need the picks. But I cannot predict the Cardinals to trade this pick. I really can't.
I mean, if Denver wants to move up here too, Dan, ring ring.
I don't think Denver could.
Pat Surtain and our first round pick for number 4 overall. What do you think, Dan? Are you trading Pat Surtain if you're Sean Payton to get up to number 4?
I mean, me personally, if I'm the GM, I am because it's a quarterback over corner and it's so much easier to get a top corner. But it's just not. I really don't think it's plausible. I think the Cardinals ultimately are going to pick realistically. I just do. I don't know.
I mean, you can hit my phone line with at number 5 if you want to still trade up for somebody else, and the Chargers will gladly take Pat Surtain.
I think that's how I have it. I think that number 5 will be traded for that JJ McCarthy spot. I can't not take Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Cardinals. Pairing him with Kyler, it's too beautiful. Marvin's by far the best receiver in this class to me. A lot of people are saying Neighbors is closer. He's really not. I really think that Marvin Harrison Jr. was created in the lab to be a Hall of Fame receiver. He was groomed by a Hall of Fame receiver father to, be this NFL Hall of Famer. I really think he's just a different prospect. I think he's the best receiver prospect of all time, and I just have to take him here at 4. I cannot.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I feel like ever since those 2 Matt Prater missed field goals, we locked this one in. And don't stray away from it because it is the most likely, outside of Caleb Williams going 1, I feel like this is the most likely at number 4, pick in the entire draft, and you just broke my heart again every single time we do this. I'm still having night terrors at night. It's fine, we'll move on. Matt Prater and those missed field goals, we'll get over it. We'll get over it. We'll get over it. All right, so right here, Dan, are you hitting my phone line right here?
Yeah, I think you've got two first round picks being offered from the Vikings this year and one next year. I think the Broncos can't even call you because it's a division team and they can't beat that offer straight up. So I think the Vikings are the team, if that's okay with you.
And I'm gonna just hit accept right now because I'm all in. Joe Ortiz, Jim Harbaugh, you kind of see the meta right now. They need to collect capital. The Chargers roster is very weak at the moment. They need to beef up. They need to beef up their roster. They need more picks. So acquire every asset you can. I love it. Oh, are you giving us 3 first rounders? Or just are we just giving 11 and 23?
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's realistic to do three or just two? Probably
I
just
mean,
the
I
two.
would. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about 3, but I think 11 and 23 would be enough capital to move up.
Fair, fair. And then are you I'm guessing you're gonna pair JJ McCarthy with Kevin O'Connell. Pretty beautiful.
It's the no-brainer pick. I feel like this pairing was made in a lab. I feel like Kevin O'Connell is just the perfect mentor and coach for JJ McCarthy. So JJ McCarthy gets to step in and go throw to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and have Aaron Jones at running back. And TJ Hawkinson, one of the better, playmaking cores in the NFL. It's the perfect situation. It's the perfect coach, and it's the perfect offense tailored to a guy like JJ McCarthy. So I love the fit. No brainer. Lock it in. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's a beautiful glove fit for Kevin O'Connell's offense. He can throw over the middle for him. He can be an on-time point guard for Kevin O'Connell. It really is perfect with all the weapons around him. I have no doubt that he would be a really, really good quarterback, worth this fifth overall pick. We'll move on to pick 6 for the Giants. This is a fun one. I think that, with all the quarterbacks off the board, I do think it's down to the two receivers, Malik Neighbors and Romo Dunze. I think anyone that's listened to us knows that we're both higher on Rome. We both think that he probably would be the better receiver for the Giants specifically because he's that big body outside guy. But speaking of just how the NFL is like how the rumors are going right now, how all the smoke is going, how the NFL feels about these guys, what it sounds like.
Everyone, Malik Neighbors, man. People, I mean, I was listening to some podcasts about it, dude. The way people rant and rave about Malik Neighbors is awesome. I mean, I love it. I mean, we're getting Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr., which I don't buy that. But that is the smoke. You are 100% correct. The way the NFL, I mean, Malik Neighbors is like the poster child of the NFL. They love him. He gives off those Jamar Chase type vibes. He's an electric playmaker. But yeah, I mean, I think the right now consensus has Malik Neighbors and the smoke and the way the NFL loves him over Rome Odunze, it is questionable. I mean, the play style is different, but I don't know. They're close. They are close. They are close. I don't have like a giant gap. I have like a 1A, 1B with him. But yeah, I do have Rome just a little bit over, and I think the Giants would be silly, but I mean, it is leaning towards Malik Neighbors, and I think Odunze would be the better fit.
Yeah, it just feels like the NFL is higher on this guy. So I'll ultimately take him. It feels like the 6 might be his floor, honestly. He is a very highly touted player, and I compare him to rookie Odell. This would be an electric pick for the Giants as well. He would be that wide receiver one. You can, throw him 10 targets a game and forget about it. He'd be a really productive monster, a fan favorite, fantasy beast. Don't need to talk about Malik Neighbors to the Giants too much. It's pretty electric. You want to move on to 7?
This is hard. Yeah, let's move on to number 7. I mean, this could go in a number of different directions right here. This could even be a trade with somebody. I mean, I don't know if I have somebody moving that far up for Rome, but you know, the way people were talking at the combine about Joe Alt, he is a prized possession. They view him as a prized possession offensive tackle. I think everyone kind of has Joe Alt above anyone else at tackle. It is the most important the second most important position. You're protecting your quarterback's blind side. You got to keep Will Levis up straight. I think we just have to lock it in. I think Joe Alt, I think he is a prized possession. I think the NFL views him very high. I mean, at one point before the Cardinals went out and got Jonah Williams, you had guys, over the PF Stock Exchange were saying Joe Alt goes high as number 4 to the Cardinals. I don't think that's the case anymore. But at number 7, the value is just incredible for getting the number 1 offensive tackle. I think he's the best offensive tackle here in a probably since Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater came out of the draft. So no-brainer pick, a flawless prospect. The tape is so clean. He's just a monster of a human, and the Titans would be very fortunate to get him.
Yeah, I personally call this guy a generational blue chip prospect. I think he's a perfect prospect. There are no flaws of this guy's game. Former, converted tight end. Whenever Notre Dame does that, they're going to be a freak offensive lineman. He's just perfect. No doubt in my mind he's going to succeed in the NFL, translate really well, and dominate with Bill Callahan coaching him up, especially. That's really fun. Don't need to talk about that. We'll move on to number 8 for the Falcons, which I think is similar to pick 7 with the Titans, another complete lock right now that you can honestly just lock in. The first defensive player off the board, I think it's going to be Dallas Turner, the athletic, bendy edge rusher that can do it all. He's good in run defense. He really is a Raheem Morris guy. Raheem Morris loves his athletic edges. He shoots for the upside, and Dallas Turner is all the upside in the world. I think he could be dominant. Could honestly be like one of the last pieces that Atlanta team needs. They are stacked and they're ready to compete in the NFC. So I'm excited about this pick. I think it's almost a lock, and I think he's going to be the first defense player off the board.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that there. I'm just gonna say though, man, the Falcons, they're ready to compete, man. They're a good team. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, breakout season for all of these guys coming. This offense should be rejuvenated, refired up. I mean, I think this year we're gonna see what these prospects, these highly touted Bijan and Kyle Pitts are really made of, and even Drake London, who was a super high pick. We're going to see what these guys are made of with Kirk Cousins, because they're not going to have the quarterback excuse anymore where the quarterback can't get on the ball. But I think the Falcons are almost like a playoff lock with this team at this point. And yeah, Dallas Turner, adding him to that defense with Jesse Bates. And the secondary is just, they're a really complete team. They're really close to just being really complete, and adding a premier edge rusher is just the perfect no-brainer move.
Pretty dang electric. You got Grady Jarrett, and now Dallas Turner, Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, all on that defense. You're getting a lot of pieces in there. You get a few more in this draft. I fully trust that offense to go kind of crazy with Zach Robinson. So I'm really, really excited for the Falcons. We can lock in Dallas Turner at 8, and then move on to pick 9 with the Bears. And I'm going to be honest, I don't envy you here because this is a hard one. It could be a trade down spot, but it's a hard one after that Keenan trade, man.
Yeah, this is brutal because I mean our offense right now for the Bears is looking really good. We got our quarterback. Our offensive line is really almost just flawless too, at this point. We don't really have any holes there. I mean, it's never hurts to stack there, but gosh damn, we have Keenan, we have DJ Moore. I mean, we really could go get a third receiver and be the most electric wide receiver core in the NFL with Rome. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going tight end with Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. That's just too many mouths to feed there. Byron Murphy is a very tempting pick here. Oh, he just re-signed.
I would say if there were any teams on the phone right now calling up for Rome, it would be maybe the Jaguars or Colts who have kind of indicated that they're aiming for one more top tier receiver. If
I
not,
mean,
maybe the
what's
Bears.
what's like Chris Ballard's history of like trading up? Is he? I don't know. Is he very aggressive? Does he have much of a history of being aggressive in trading? I
I
just
honestly could not tell you. I know he traded for DeForest Buckner for like a first or second, but I have no idea.
Oh my gosh. I might just YOLO this. I might just I might just say F it. We're going Romo Dunze. Keenan Allen is older. He is a bigger, more athletic Keenan Allen, and you're building a wide receiver core for the future here. And you get it. I mean, Keenan Allen may be a 1-2 year rental. Romo Dunze might be your long term, your future wide receiver for the next decade. So screw it. Let's give Caleb Williams the most electric wide receiver core any rookie has ever had in NFL history, and you love to see it.
This is by far the best situation any number one pick has ever gone into. You're going into DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet. You got DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson. You got Braxton Jones at left tackle, Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, who they just signed at center, Nate Davis, and Darnell Wright. They're a set offense. That defense ended the season great last year with Eberflus. I expect him to continue that dominance. So I think the Bears are just going to be an insane team, and you can't really fault them for this because they don't have many needs. Like maybe Jackson Powers Johnson, if they traded down, would have been cool. Byron Murphy, the same if they traded down. But at 9, Rome makes sense there, man. And he really is just a suit up Keenan at this point.
Yeah, I think you have Keenan just to be that veteran presence, that safety blanket on third. As a Charger fan, we called it third and Keenan, because we knew where the ball was going. And I think, you put Romo Dunze in there to really master his craft with a true guru and Keenan Allen, and that's just perfect. You gave Caleb Williams stock in the Bears freaking organization. He's happy. It's a good time over there in Chicago.
100%. They're going to be electric. And then moving on to pick 10 with the Jets, I'm really just straight up down to two people right here. After bringing in Mike Williams, by the way, that is nice. It does take away one more need going into the draft. And I'm down to Brock Bowers and Troy Fatanu. You bring in Tyron Smith, John Simpson, and Morgan Moses to completely shore up the offensive line, but I'm not fully sold that Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith, both 33 and 34, are the future plans at tackle. So I do really consider Troy Fatanu heavily here to be that perfect swing guy that can play anywhere. Because they have their starting five filled out right now, but Troy Fatanu could, honestly just start over John Simpson at left guard immediately. Whenever Tyron Smith or Morgan Moses go down, you can move him to tackle. I think that might be the wisest move when you have a 33 and 34-year-old tackles right now. I think that might be a little bit more wise than Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is insanely electric. You pair Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers with Brock Bowers. You can't really argue with that either. That does definitely transcend the team. It helps you compete right now. I'm kind of tilted between Brock Bowers and Fatanu. Did any make more sense than the other to you?
That's honestly, you flip a coin on how Aaron Rodgers is feeling that day. But I mean, the shiny toy in Brock Bowers is really, really tempting. Um, but yeah, you got some old tackles you brought in. Ooh, given Aaron Rodgers' history, what would you think? If you put yourself in Aaron Rodgers' body, what would you want? Would you want the generational prospect at tight end? I think this is about his range right here. It starts here at 10. Um,
It's
gosh,
hard
that's tough.
because Aaron Rodgers, like when he was the GM for the Packers, technically, he never valued, receiving talent. He never drafted a receiver first round ever. And maybe that was just Gutekunst. Maybe he wants to now that he has full control. Maybe I do think, Rodgers is a sporadic guy. He probably would give in the end and go for the more flashy option. So I do think honestly Brock Bowers is at this point a little bit more realistic than Fatanu.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree, and I just think the prospect that Brock Bowers is, you really shouldn't even fall out of the top 10. He's the greatest tight end to ever come out of college football. So honestly feel like it's kind of disrespectful to Brock Bowers, even though he is gonna probably fall to 10 or 11 or 12. Um, but I mean, he really shouldn't be falling out of the top 10 with how good and what he's done at Georgia. I mean, it's just you can't say enough good things about the guy. But yeah, I mean that offense would be electric. I mean, you do have, your line is shored up for 1 year, and this might be Aaron Rodgers' last year. So those guys are 1 year rentals. They're older. Aaron Rodgers is older, but Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and Brock Bowers is not too bad, of an offense.
Yeah, I definitely will say I'm pretty positive that Bauer's floor is 12 with the Broncos. I see a lot of mocks of them falling to like the Colts at 15, and honestly, it just straight up doesn't make any sense. The Broncos wouldn't pass on him unless, somehow McCarthy was at 12, which at this point is impossible. So no, Bowers is not falling past 12. I think his range is 10 to 12. And yeah, I think ultimately Aaron Rodgers would give in. That makes this offense electric. It kind of fills out this team, and you got fireworks in New York, and it can transcend some things for you.
Yeah, this broke my heart because the Chargers are picking at 11. Broncos are picking at 12. Me and you are both crushed. Missed out. First, miss out on Marvin Harrison Jr. Then we miss out on Brock Bowers. If this happens on draft day, I may be crying. We're gonna be live streaming the draft, just to let you guys know. Hopefully you tune in and watch it with us, but we'll live stream the entire first round, and maybe we'll go into day 2 and 3, and have all our reactions and just be hanging out and, in a chat with you guys. But yeah, I would probably be wiping tears off my face, but it's okay. We'll move on. We'll regroup. We'll eat some wings. It's a tradition of me and Dan's. We're in Buffalo Wild Wings, so it's a tradition. We might feel sick later that night, but it might help us cope with what happens in the draft. But anyways, moving on to pick number 11. This is, I mean, it's also a really fun position. I mean, the Chargers are a team with so much needs right here. It's very, very tempting. Ortiz and Harbaugh, the identity of what they're bringing to the Chargers right now is a powerful football team. I mean, they went out and got a big bruising running back in Gus Edwards. They go signed a 330-pound center and Bradley Bozeman, who's more of a run first center. You go get bigger and blocking tight ends. You go get Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst, who are two bigger blocking tight ends. So they've already brought physicality to the team. You look at Talisi Fuaga here, who just feels a JC Latham, who just feel like guys that they would take. They're also so weak at corner. I honestly, Dan, I'm torn. I do nothing but listen to Chargers podcast, read articles, do my own studying, and I'm at a complete loss.
So with pick 11 and 23, I think there's two different scenarios here. I guess what sounds more appealing to you? Would you rather take a CB1 right here? So say, who do you have as your CB1? Quinion?
I actually, yeah, it's right now. I go back and forth on the day. I think Terrion Arnold would fit the scheme maybe a little bit better, and the experience and playing in the SEC, and Harbaugh maybe having a little bit more familiarity with him. I think I have Quinion as my number one. I think the Chargers would have Terrion Arnold.
All right. Well, I think it's a lock that the Chargers are going to take a right tackle in the first round. It seems like they're just too interested. They sent a haul to the Oregon State Pro Day, and then they were really working with Latham today at Alabama's Pro Day. So I think the scenario is either it's Quinion slash JT Latham at 23, or it's Fuanga slash like Cooper DeJean or Nate Wiggins. So that's kind of the dilemma, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess right. I mean, you'll probably have a really solid guy that, yeah, tackle wise that falls.
It's a solid tackle class,
Yeah,
insanely legendary, solid.
and I think the best value here would to be go get your corner one when you literally don't have a corner. I mean, obviously they're meeting with Kristen Fulton today. We'll see if he signs there, but you need a corner. You have not addressed corner in free agency yet. You need a true guy for a Jesse Minter, Jim Harbaugh type defense. You need that alpha corner one, and I think it's Terrion Arnold here.
Yeah, I mean, I could not fault that pick at all. He seems like he would just insert as the CB1 and you just forget about it. He really is like a Patrick Surtain type prospect to me, just so technical. He's going to stay with his any real receiver downfield, really. He's just a lockdown mirror corner. So I honestly love the fit for the Chargers. It's another position you can lock down on that defense, not worry about. Helps Sane Samuel, honestly, a lot. That'll help take a lot of load off the rest of that secondary. So I honestly like that pick.
Yeah, and also I guess we'll talk about 23 when we get to 23. All right, Dan, I picked Terrion Arnold for my Chargers. Who do you got for your Broncos here at number 12? Still a lot of good pieces on the board.
A lot of good pieces, but I would say this is a worst case scenario for the Broncos specifically because I think they're just eyeing JJ McCarthy and Bowers. And in this case where they don't trade up, which I mean, I could definitely see, Sean Payton giving in and going up and getting his guy at quarterback. But with no Bowers here, with no McCarthy here, I'm either just taking Bo Nix at 12 or I'm trading down.
Yeah, I think you got to trade down. I was gonna say, I think this is a no-brainer. You've got good tackles on the board. You got good corners on the board. The Eagles are very intriguing here to me. First off, for trading up for a corner. Um, I think the Eagles would be all in on like a guy like Quinyon Mitchell. What do you think about that?
I like that a lot. I think the trade up players would be for either Quinyon, Byron Murphy, or Fawanga. Yes.
Yeah, I think I like the Eagles. I think Howie Roseman's a very aggressive. He's very good working the draft board. I think they're still in desperate need of a corner one, the Eagles, and I think that one makes the most sense. I think and the Eagles also have two second round picks, 50 and 53. I think you trade 22 and 50 to the Broncos in exchange for 12.
All right, yeah, I'll lock that in. I don't think they need to take Bo Nix right here, so we'll trade it with the Eagles, and I really like you getting Quinyon Mitchell to solidify that terrible secondary last year. Really, the reason for their downfall ultimately. It was just historically bad. So yeah, you lock in that new CB1. I'd be totally fine cutting Slay and Bradbury, honestly, if you made this move. So yeah, no doubt in my mind he would be a perfect plug and play CB1, probably a good range for him as well, around 12. So I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, and you're trading up the Eagles right here because the Raiders could be in play for corner, the Saints could be in play for corner, the Colts could be in play for corner, the Chargers just took a corner. You go get, a guy who a lot of people are going to have as their number one corner on the board. You have two second round picks. It's no sweat off your chest at all. Howie Roseman's a genius. He goes and gets an alpha corner one. So I love that.
All right, moving on to the Raiders at 13. A lot of people like to lock in corner, but both of the top two corners go the two picks ahead of them, so they kind of get finessed. What are they going to go?
This is interesting because I'm very familiar with Mr. Tom Telesco, former Chargers GM. And I mean, Tom Telesco he's a very interesting GM. He's not very creative. He usually really loves. He does good in the first round when a no-brainer player falls to him. And in this scenario, I think that they would have a guy like Talisi Fuanga, a guy who can play guard, who can play tackle I don't think they're going to be in love with any quarterbacks enough to take them right here. I think they could also be a team to trade up for Michael Penix or a Bo Nix at the end. But a guy who also fits Anthony Pierce style of play, a mean physical mauler. I mean, this guy's just you watch his film, he's just knocking bodies over everywhere. So I love this fit for the Raiders. It feels like a Tom Telesco pick, and great value at 13 getting a tackle like this.
Honestly quite the no-brainer. You lose Jermaine Illuminor to the Giants, who was starting at right tackle. You draft Wonga, instantly replace him. You can move Thayer Munford to guard or just have him be your swing tackle again. And the two top corners are off the board already. So you don't really have to decide between corner or tackle. You go with the Wonga who fell to you, and he's a perfect scheme fit opposite of Colt Miller. Not too much to be said about that. That's pretty perfect.
Yeah, brilliant pick. What are the Saints? I wouldn't even mind the Saints if we have this could be another trade back scenario, a team that needs to recoup capital, is taking a big absolute beating in free agency. They keep pushing. It seems like they're losing a bunch of guys, but they keep restructuring and pushing money down the road so they just don't get out of this cap hell, which has got to be so frustrating for Saints fans. But I mean, what are you thinking here?
I would agree that trading down is really intriguing if Olu Fashanu wasn't on the board, man. Trevor Penning was so bad, and you can just insert this high upside, really good pass protector on that left side on Derek Carr's blind side, maybe save a year or two off of his life. I think this would be a really good pick. I think it's great value. I don't think he has any business being outside of like the top 12. He's a great tackle prospect in his own right. I do think this is maybe the best tackle prospect we have ever seen. I genuinely think it's going to come down as that when it's all said and done. When Amarius Mims is a 10-year monster starter, when JC Latham is still starting in 10 years, when Alt and Fashanu have the upside to be some of the best tackles we've seen. Fong is a monster. It's a crazy tackle class. It's so deep as well. I think this would be a beautiful pick.
Yeah, that's a brilliant pick. He's probably got the cleanest feet in the entire draft. Probably one of the cleanest pass protectors probably the cleanest pass protector in the entire draft. And I feel like honestly prospect fatigue is hurting Olu right now. I feel like he's falling down the board. So yeah, pick number 14, a guy that could easily and in most drafts would probably be a top 10 lock, falls to 14. So, perfect value.
Yeah, beautiful pick for the Saints. Really love that fit. One of my favorites of this mock so far. Let's go to the pick 15 with the Colts.
This one's interesting. Because Brian Thomas Jr. is still on the board here. I don't know if that is the Colts' biggest need, considering they have Michael Pittman and he's maybe a little bit too similar. But he would be a fun prospect to pair with Anthony Richardson. Brian Thomas Jr. on one side, Michael Pittman on the other, Alec Pierce. Gosh, remind me of the tight end who's super tall as well, Jelani Woods.
Jelani Wood.
You have like an entire basketball team that Anthony Richardson would be throwing to. I haven't seen this one really at all, and this is one I've been kind of thinking of today. And I think I'm gonna lock in Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, you got an absolute basketball team out there at wide receiver and tight end, and a guy that just absolutely lit up the combine and ran a 4.34. If I'm not wrong, I believe he was the second or third. I can't remember if he was in front of AD Mitchell, but he was either second or third fastest time, 17 touchdowns. This would be a no-brainer pick for me to help Anthony Richardson out. And I feel like the Colts, even with Josh Downs, I feel like they really need another really dominant wide receiver too. And I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. could be that and ultimately be a better wide receiver with a lot more upside than Michael Pittman, in my opinion. I think he would ultimately become your wide receiver one, and Michael Pittman's your wide receiver two.
Yeah, a one-for-one upgrade of Brian Thomas over Alec Pierce is pretty tremendous. That could really boost your team. Brian Thomas, with his basketball background, honestly, with Anthony Richardson, would be really, really electric. He could transcend things with Michael Pittman on the intermediate side of things. That'd be a really fun complementary receiving core. This is really fun. I like it. I think that the Colts are in play for one of these top receivers, Romo Dunze, Brian Thomas, Brandon Aiyuk. I think they're really trying to make a move at receiver to get Anthony Richardson a few really good options. So I do like this one. You don't see it often, and you're also finessing the Jaguars and Bengals pretty bad here.
You love to see it. Colts fans, let us know what you think. Give me a 5-star rating if you love the pick. Don, if you're watching, I got you, boy. Brian Thomas Jr. is a legend, so let's get it.
Yeah, just an absolute size, speed freak. He's going to be a monster in the NFL, no doubt about that. With Anthony Richardson, it would be a very, very fun thing to see. So moving on to 16 with the Seahawks. Ultimately, you are going to draft an interior offensive lineman. To me, I think the roster's somewhat filled out. The defense is rough, but there's pieces there. I trust in McDonald to kind of elevate things on the defensive side. So I'm between Fatanu and Jackson Powers Johnson. You could plug in Fatanu at left guard, and he'd be an all-pro left guard to me. Plug in Jackson Powers Johnson at center, probably an all-pro center to me. So this is a really hard pick. You can't really go wrong. I'll just go with my interior offensive lineman one, the guy that we've locked into the Seahawks since literally December when they were picking at like 23 before the season even ended. We were locking in JPJ to the Seahawks. It just feels perfect. You really fill in that offensive line. You lost Damian Lewis. You do need to fill in the interior. I wouldn't be mad at Fatanu at all, but I see a team drafting him to be a tackle ultimately, so I'm going to go with JPJ.
I love it. Definitely a Dan dude. Been a Dan dude since high school. You love to see Dan getting this guy staying in the Northwest region. Absolute monster. It seems like the NFL is kind of trending towards these bigger 330-pound centers, maulers, and JPJ is just that. So I love the pick. I think Seattle would love the pick. And yeah, just you really fill out your offensive line with your one weakness, and you can plug him in at center guard. He can play either one, and yeah, like you said, we've been doing this one since December. I don't think it's gonna change. And come draft day, we'll be patting each other on the back for that one.
Yep. One of my favorite center prospects I've really seen. He does remind me of Jason Kelsey, but just his football IQ, the way he lead blocks, and it's just he's such a good center, such a stout blocker. I love the way he plays, mean mentality. Love JPJ. Let's move on to pick 17 for the Jags. And like I said, they probably got finesse of Brian Thomas here.
100%. But you know what? I'm not panicking. AD Mitchell is still on the board. He has definitely been a my guy since day one. There's a little bit of he lacks a little bit of effort on some of his routes, but I mean in this receiver class with a guy who just tore it up this much with I mean, 845 yards and 11 touchdowns with Quinn Ewers in itself is just miraculous. Quinn Ewers is probably one of the worst quarterback prospects I've watched. Um, it was pretty wild. I felt bad for AD Mitchell and Xavier Worthy when cutting up the tape and watching who they had throwing at him. But AD Mitchell, who just lit up the combine, he is rising on boards fast. The size is there, the hands are there. I mean, he absolutely cooked Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama when they played. I think he scored 2 touchdowns in that game. But yeah, I mean, an exciting prospect. I don't think you're banking on Gabe Davis to realistically be your wide receiver too. Gabe Davis is wide receiver 3 or 4 at best. But you go get Trevor, a solid wide receiver. And yeah, you forget about Brian Thomas.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful stuff. AD Mitchell has like the CD Lamb, AJ Brown type of feel as a receiver. He just has the feel, he has the nuance, he has the football IQ, whatever it is. He just has a shake to get open, and he's such a good route runner. I love AD. I honestly could see him going here because I'm sure a team will fall in love with the traits. He has high end receiver upside, and that's what could take over this league as we've seen recently. So love that pick. You also finessed the Bengals 18 again of another receiver. If they lose out on T. Higgins, I think they would have been interested at receiver.
I
At
think you
18,
finessed the Chargers at 23 too. I think if the Chargers were traded down, I think they're kind of banking on AD Mitchell at 23 because they don't have a wide receiver outside of Josh Palmer on the roster. That's a competent wide receiver. So you finesse a few people right there.
yeah, 100%. Beautiful, beautiful pick, beautiful prospect. I love AD Mitchell. And moving on to the Bengals at 18. This is a hard one. You do lose a few players in free agency, though. You lose DJ Reader, which is that's a big one, man. He's a really good interior piece. The Lions got a good one, and I think I'm honestly just gonna fill in the number one interior defensive lineman right for DJ Reader. They do bring in Sheldon Rankins, but I think Sheldon, Byron Murphy, and BJ Hill is a pretty good interior, and I think Brian Murphy has like Chris Jones upside. I always say it. I think he's my favorite defensive player in this entire class, and I don't think he has any business falling this far. I do think Fatanu would be a really fun pick to move him at right tackle, but with them just bringing in Trent Brown, I will ultimately go Byron Murphy. Honestly, I feel like Fatanu is very still in play because Trent Brown's up there in age for sure. So that is pretty hard, but I think I'm still going to go with Byron Murphy. Feels like a perfect fit.
Yeah, tremendous value. The number one, defensive interior prospect, the really high upside in rushing the passer, and a good run defender too. I mean, elite grades all over the board for Byron Murphy. And yeah, you plug and play what you just lost, and you don't think about it. That's a valuable good pick right there.
Yeah, very valuable. I think he'd be a great pro for the Bengals for Lou Anarumo. And let's move on to pick 19 with the Rams.
Yeah, I think right here we may just be going back to back defensive tackle with Johnny Newton here. Aaron Donald, surprise retirement out of nowhere. Sorry, Aaron Donald, kind of forgot about it at the beginning of the pod, but Aaron Donald is retired. The GOAT, the
Nope.
absolute legend. Yeah, so GG's to the GOAT on an incredible career. Um, and that all of a sudden just becomes your biggest glaring need. I think you are mad you just missed out on Byron Murphy, but Jerzon Newton is interior defensive lineman number one for a lot of people. I feel like he's kind of been a victim of prospect fatigue, and I believe he's been hurt, so he hasn't tested. Um, but the Rams, you plug and play Jerzon Newton. It's sad to lose Aaron Donald, but Jerzon Newton's an incredible defensive lineman. You can never replace what Aaron Donald did for your team. He's probably the greatest of all time. But you help, you patch a band-aid over the wound.
Yeah, I mean, the knock on Johnny Newton is his size. It's that he's too small. That was a knock on Aaron Donald. He definitely specializes in pass rushing. He's a pretty electric pass rusher himself. Does not have the speed and get off as Aaron Donald does because no one in NFL history does. But yeah, Johnny Newton would be a really fun replacement, eventual successor and opposite of Kobe Turner in that interior. Byron Young on the edge. You get one more edge rusher. I really like that. So pretty fun and as good as you can get to replace the best defensive player of all time.
Yes, sir. All right, Steelers at pick number 20. Two quarterbacks in free agency, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson moving over there. Deontay Johnson is now gone. Been a pretty unpredictable offseason for the Steelers. Oh, Kenny Pickett also traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Kenny Pickett was traded for like a fourth. Um, so they were able to get rid of Kenny Pickett, get like a fourth, and then send a six for and get Justin Fields. So, incredible stuff right there. And they're paying Justin Fields and Russell Wilson like $2 million combined this year.
Yep, Kenny Pickett's a goofball. First of all, get that out of the way. But moving on to the pick, I'm very torn because Troy Fautanu's on the board. Obviously, it's the perfect pick. You plug him in at right tackle, guard, left tackle, center, anywhere. He'd be perfect. He'd be an all-pro for you probably. But I don't know. What do you think if I draft Brandon Aiyuk right here? What if I call up the Niners and take Brandon Aiyuk at 20?
Ooh, I mean, Brandon Aiyuk wants out. I mean, he's made that clear since early February after the Super Bowl.
I didn't
That's
expect Fatano to be on the board. Is it careless with Fatano on the board, or should I do it?
mm, who's the best receivers on the board right now? Because I mean, you have George Pickens and Calvin Austin as your wide receiver too. Um,
There's no receivers on the board that would go here, so I think it would
I
be
like it.
a fun
I
one.
like it. I think we could see something like that happen. Obviously, they would be trading Brandon Ayuk to an AFC team, so getting him out of the NFC. Um, yeah, I like it. I do. I do. Do you think Brandon Ayuk alone is worth a first 20 overall? I mean, he's a pretty damn good receiver. I mean, and at this point, yeah, I think you could trade Brandon. I think you could trade Brandon Ayuk straight up. Maybe they throw in like a 132, compensatory pick with Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I mean, people were talking about the Broncos trading for Ayuk at 12. I think he definitely would be worth the pick 20, especially with these receivers off the board. Definitely.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even realize that the AD Mitchell just fleeced like four teams
Yeah.
going that early. I like it. I love it. I think that's brilliant. Kind of reminds me similarly of the AJ Brown trade a couple of years ago. And the Hollywood Brown trade. I mean, Hollywood Brown was traded for a first. So was AJ Brown. On draft day in the 20 range. AJ Brown was pretty much traded for Traylon Burks, and the Eagles look like a genius for that.
Yeah, so if AD Mitchell was on the board, I do think this pick would be AD Mitchell, and it would be that exact AJ Brown and Traylon Burks situation, except for AD Mitchell is a lot better than Traylon Burks, and he'd be in a Shanahan offense. That would be pretty electric, but he has been finessed off the board. So I'm thinking edge, maybe you lost Chase Young. I'm thinking maybe Troy Fautanu to fill in at right tackle, maybe guard. He can play anywhere. Might be too good a value. You traded Brandon Ayuk. I think you just have to go. I mean, Latu would be really fun. Latu just feels like a 49er, feels perfect opposite of Bosa. But I think it would just be too good to take Fatano, start him at right tackle or guard. It's too perfect.
That feels like a 49er pick. I 100% agree. You have the flexibility to kick him in or out. Yeah, that's a no-brainer pick, 100%.
Yeah, the most athletic lineman in the class, perfect fit for Shanahan, would be a perfect mover for that Shanahan zone blocking scheme. Let's move on to pick 21 for the Dolphins.
Oh, this is a tough one. Dolphins have actually kind of had quite a hole in free agency. Um, do you mind? Or actually, I'm sorry. I want to start doing this on the spot. I kind of want to see everyone at the Dolphins have added because I've kind of forgotten.
They brought in center Aaron Brewer, Jonnu Smith at tight end. They brought in a few defensive interior, Neville Gallimore, Benito Jones, Jonathan Harris. They brought in middle linebacker Jordan Brooks. They bring in two safety pieces, Jordan Poyer, Ciaran Neal, and Kendall Fuller. They had probably the busiest offseason of anyone.
Geez, yeah, they haven't. I guess they really haven't addressed their offensive line much, huh?
Yeah, Grant Barton for me is the perfect pick for the Dolphins right now because he can play a guard or center. But yeah,
That's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, obviously J.C. Latham and Marius Mims are very tempting, but yeah, Graham Barton's just kind of one of the cleaner prospects right here. Yeah, and he can play all three interior spots, no problem. Yeah, I think you lock Graham Barton in. Yeah, I love that pick, and that gives them flexibility in all three interior spots, guard, center. It's a no-brainer pick. The Dolphins got to get better on the offensive line.
Yeah, I honestly really like the Dolphins out offensive line 4 out of 5. You got Teron Armstead, Isaiah Wynn at left guard, Aaron Brewer at center, and then you got Austin Jackson at right tackle. I think Robert Jones is more of a six man, so I think you just plug in Graham Barton for Robert Jones at right guard, and that's a perfect five. And you're sitting pretty. That is a good roster, and that Dolphins team is ready to compete as much as they can with a pretty terrible quarterback behind center. I'll be honest, but you're putting him in a pretty dang perfect situation in this.
Oh, 100%. Now, Dan, what are you doing for your Denver Broncos? Is Bo Nix off the board here? Is Mr. Bo Nix from Oregon gonna be the Broncos quarterback come 2024 NFL season?
Bo Nix is the Broncos quarterback. You just do the math. JJ McCarthy is going to be priced out of Denver. Honestly, all these quarterbacks are just going to go too high. And I think Bo Nix is just the odd man out. He's the one that falls to Denver. And if you just do the math, honestly. So I do think he's the guy. He might have honestly always been the guy for Sean. It does seem like a Sean Payton guy. He's going to be on time, a good point guard for that offense. He's just got a good head on his shoulder. He's experienced. You can start him day one 100%. Don't have to worry about that. Like you do with JJ McCarthy. I don't think the drop off between him and JJ is that substantial, but obviously JJ just has a lot more tools and upside. Ultimately, why he's going pick 5. Bo has kind of been here for a while. He struggled at Auburn, has a pretty cool story, has played more snaps than anyone in college football, but I do think that mind, that mesh, I've gained a lot of respect for him over the last few years, winning a lot of big games at Oregon, beating some good defenses like Utah, dominating Utah a few times. So I like Bo Nix. I think Sean Payton and him would have a great marriage.
I 100% agree. Honestly, when I think of Sean Payton and the perfect quarterback prospect for him, honestly draw up Bo Nix. Bo Nix, you know what you're getting. You've seen more college tape on him than anyone else. He's had an incredible season. I mean, and all the advanced stats are there. His big time throws, his pressure throws, his deep grade. I mean, everything there. He is such a timing quarterback. He is so quick with his decisions. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't he have like the fastest time of getting rid of the ball in college football? It
By
was something
far.
ridiculous. Yeah. And that is exactly what Sean Payton wants. I think Russell Wilson drove Sean Payton mad because Russell Wilson's really always was more of a, outside of the play quarterback in Seattle. And that's not what Sean Payton's offense is. He wants Drew Brees. He wants quick, smart decisions. And you plug and play Bo Nix, who I'm not going to say he's Drew Brees, but he reminds me little bits of Drew Brees. I think the timing's there with the deep throws. I think the getting rid of the ball is quick. I like the experience, and I think that's exactly what Sean Payton wants. I think this would be best case scenario for Denver.
Yeah, it really does. Just feel like the pick ultimately. It feels like the domino, but maybe the last quarterback domino that will fill for the starters. And yeah, it just feels like a perfect pairing, marriage, mesh, whatever you want to call it, with Sean Payton. Like that, like me picking for my Broncos. Now let's see who you pick for your Chargers at 23.
Lock in JC Latham, man. Screw wide receiver. We are running power. We are getting a fullback. We're getting JC Latham. We are running power. We're going back to old school wing tee, smash mouth football, Jim Harbaugh type of stuff. We're gonna knock you into the ground. And JC Latham is exactly that. I mean, I think JC Latham, if you really wanted to, I think he's a plug and play right tackle. He's a mauler, and you ultimately keep Trey Pipkins as your swing tackle, and you have your starting five, set in stone for Justin Herbert, and you changed the run game dynamically. I mean, drastically, excuse me, just with this pick alone. So J.C. Latham here at this pick is honestly incredible value. I've seen him picked and mocked as high as 5 to the Chargers. But him falling all the way here to 23 and the Chargers in a trade down scenario, this is perfect. We don't have a wide receiver. Who cares? We're running the football.
You said it perfectly at pick 11. This all of the Chargers moves this offseason have indicated towards them kind of making this pick, making this right tackle selection somewhere in the first round, changing to that smash mouth style of football. The Ravens always have 2 tower bookend tackles. That's what they've kind of been predicated to. That run game is really what they run through, and you want to give Herbert the best situation, you want to give Herbert a perfect run game. JC Latham's that guy. He has a perfect floor as a run blocker in the NFL, but he also has a great anchor as a pass protector. Would just be a perfect Trey Pipkins upgrade for the Chargers. You could go, receiver. You could go defense, but I really like going CB1 at 11 because that does allow you to kind of make your offensive pick here at 23, and this just feels perfect. You saw the Chargers extensively working with JC Latham today at Alabama's Pro Day. It just feels right. It feels perfect for Greg Roman's offense and what Harbaugh wants to do too, the mentality.
You sign Alex Erickson, Herbert, Alex Harrison, wide receiver 2. You love to see it. Herbert can make any wide receiver great. We're throwing to tight ends. We're running power. Hell, who knows? We might bring out the old wing T, but we're gonna absolutely run it down your throat. And it's a Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh. Imagine Herbert with a good run game and no wide receivers.
Beautiful. It's beautiful stuff. This would really, bringing in Terrion Arnold and JC Latham, Bama boys, would be a pretty electric haul for the Chargers in day one.
Yeah, you can't complain. You hope to get a couple of receivers, maybe round 2 and 3.
Yeah, Roman Wilson, Blake Corum, bring him in those mid rounds. That's a pretty beautiful roster.
You love to see it. Let's move on to the Cowboys at 24, Dan. Obviously losing Tyrone Smith in free agency, Leighton Vander Esch retiring. Some news for the Cowboys, obviously going on. Pretty quiet free agency. Also lost Tony Pollard. What do you make so far? I mean, and then really their one notable addition is bringing in Eric Kendricks, former linebacker of the Chargers.
I mean, they also lose Tyler Biadasz, and if
Oh
Jackson
yeah.
Powers Johnson was on the board, you automatically take him. It might be a little bit early for Zach Frazier, although it does feel like a Cowboy. Now that I put that together, that just looks like a Cowboy. But I honestly think that they could maybe get them in round 2, or maybe get them in round 2. There's a lot of good centers in this class, honestly. So I will wait. I will wait on center, and I'm just gonna go with the freak tackle, Amarius Mims. You honestly can upgrade from Terrence Still. He's coming off a pretty disastrous season. Amarius Mims is kind of chiseled by the gods to play offensive lineman. He's a freak athlete as well. I think he, in this Cowboys system and this development, what they do with their offensive lineman, I have no doubt that he would be awesome. He moved Tyler Smith, the left tackle, to replace Tyron Smith. That's pretty beautiful. So you got your bookend tackles. You kind of don't have that many needs in the first place. You could go receiver here, but yeah, I love this pick.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Marius Mims, one of the most intriguing prospects in all of college football. Very little to no playing time. Very little tape, but an absolute monster of a human being. And if you expect him to be good on one team, plug and play him with the Dallas Cowboys. They can make anyone great, and this guy will probably be the next generational tackle for them. So I love the pick.
All right, JC Latham and Amarius Mims go 2 picks in a row. Who are the Packers going to go at 25?
This is a hard pick. Honestly, this is super hard. The Packers are tough. They have a pretty much filled out roster. There's not much weakness on this team. Um, but I think I still want to lean corner. Cooper DeJean is on the board here. I think that would be, I mean, it feels like too obvious of the pick. I feel like we always mock corner. I feel like Cooper DeJean makes too much sense. And I'm going to keep it that way because why go away from what works? Cooper DeJean, PFF has him as their number 8 overall prospect. He has not been able to test this year to a foot injury. But I mean, again, the Packers just went out and got Xavier McKinney. If you want to play Cooper DeJean in a nickel hybrid, role, I mean, he's just a true chess piece to your defense. And you add him to that Packers secondary, which is already pretty solid, and this guy can just move all over the board, and it feels like a match made in heaven.
If he falls at 25, he really is the perfect player for the Packers because they kind of have like one hole in that secondary now. They've got Eric Stokes and Jair Alexander on the outside. They've got Keyshawn Nixon in the slot. They only have one safety in Xavier McKinney. So if you bring in Cooper DeJean, honestly, you just put him at safety with Xavier McKinney and you just have them both move around. You put McKinney in the box sometimes. You bring in Anthony Johnson to play deep at free safety. You move Cooper DeJean to slot, to corner, to play free safety, strong safety. I think that's just the perfect chess piece for the secondary. You also allows you to move off of Jair Alexander if you need, which has been kind of rumored. So I do think this is ultimately the pick because the Packers don't have any needs. They did lose one person. The Packers lost a person this offseason. It was Devondre Campbell, the linebacker they cut. So honestly, Peyton Wilson could
I
make
was thinking
sense.
that. Peyton Wilson, I feel like it is rich.
Yeah.
But Peyton Wilson who just ran a 4.4 at the combine. I mean, that would be a fun pick too. That yeah, I like you throwing that out there.
Yeah, I like Tyler Nubin as well to fill out that last secondary spot. But yeah, Cooper DeJean, just beautiful chess piece for that secondary. Move him anywhere. He's gonna be a star. Feels like a perfect, just scheme fit for the Packers as well. Can play zone. So love that. You want to move on to the Buccaneers at 26?
Yeah, I know it's your pick, but wow, the Buccaneers are doing backflips right here. You got your choice of Jared Verse or Latu here. That is tremendous value. But it is your pick. You could go any way you want, but that's incredible value.
Yeah, not only do I have my choice at edge, but I also just traded Carlton Davis and Nate
Oh,
Wiggins is
Nick
on the
Wiggins.
board. So that would be nice too.
That's a pretty much perfect scenario. You're 1, 2, 3 right there.
Yeah.
I think you can go wrong with any pick. Obviously, Shaquille Barrett and Carlton Davis are gone. So, do you value what's the bigger drop off? Do you think you can get a better corner in round two? I don't know. What's the bigger drop off here? I think would ultimately be the Bucks' choice.
This is hard because we do have these edges falling. I honestly don't see any of these edges falling this far. It's just how the mock is played out. The Bucks do have Joe Tryon Shoyinka and Yaya Diaby, and like that's fun. That's a fun young, at least edge duo to kind of field out there and see what happens. A lot of upside. I don't know if I really want to mess with that honestly, but Verse or Latu would be very good high floor edge rushers just to plug in there as your edge one. So can't really fault that. I'm definitely between that or Nate Wiggins. I feel like Nate Wiggins will probably go higher than this, and you get an almost solidified CB1 opposite of Jamel Dean. That would really help. So I'm really torn between the two. Would you probably just go edge though?
I mean, it's what you value more. I mean, I feel like the drop off at edge is greater, to be honest with you, come the second round. I don't feel like you're getting a lot to reverse. Skinny
I'm gonna
Wiggins,
go edge. I'm gonna
yeah.
go edge.
I think I like the pick edge more, especially when verse and Latu, and I think you can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah, deciding between the two is really hard. I am going to take Latu. Just has more pass rushing chops, has all the pass rushing tools in the world, really. Maybe like the highest floor as a pass rusher to ever come out of the draft ever. He is incredible in that aspect. So I do think that one trait alone that's just so transcendent will get him drafted above Verse and probably go higher than this. But there is that injury red flag where he retired medically at Washington, had to eventually come back to UCLA, the same thing that Jalen Phillips did at Miami. So interesting there, but I'm not really worried about it. He's played the last two seasons and been dominant, not lingered by injuries. So I'm going to lock in Latu.
Love it. And no brainer pick. The Cardinals just got Nate Wiggins at 27. A big, giant, desperate need for them. They need an alpha corner one. Nate Wiggins can be that guy. He's fantastic in coverage. He's got blazing speed. The only concern and drawback with him is he's skinny. Skinny Wiggins. What do we name him? Slim Shady? What was the nickname? I can't believe Slenderman. Slenderman.
Slenderman.
Yeah, Mr. Slenderman going to the Cardinals. No brainer pick for me here. Obviously, you could go edge as well. But I think the Cardinals desperately want a corner one, and you can never have enough corners. So lock in Nate Wiggins, the Cardinals.
Right, yeah, love that pick. You get Jonathan Gannon, another corner opposite of Sean Murphy Bunting. You're definitely making that secondary a lot more competent. You're giving Jonathan Gannon some pieces to play around with on that defense. Really like that. He's kind of fell too far. I feel like that's a steal for the Cardinals. That'd be a great, great pick for them. Moving on to the Bills at 28. You have Jared Verse still on the board somehow. You don't really see that too often. You've got Greg Rousseau, but right now, starting opposite of Greg Rousseau is AJ Epinesa. Vaughn Miller's turning 57 next year, so I'm not really counting on that. I think I'm going to take the high floor, just edge rusher in general. Verse, probably the best run defending edge rusher in this class, but I think his pass rushing is pretty underrated. He got that 90 pass rush grade this year, and he's solid. He's got that nice bull rush. He's a big Strong guy. I think he has a really high floor as a pass rusher. Could be an edge one for the Bills, honestly, day one.
Love it. You move on from Von Miller, hopefully after this year, and you step it in with Jared Verse, and that's a beautiful match. Obviously, they went out and got Curtis Samuel, so that kind of tides them over. They could also be in play for wide receiver, depending who's on the board. But I don't think any of these top wide receivers are worth it at this pick right here, and you just get the best player on the board right there, which is Verse.
100%. Let's move on to pick 29 for the Lions. And Cam Sutton has a DV issue going on.
I think we got to keep adding to our secondary here. Ken Sutton, yeah, something weird going on there. We got Kool-Aid McKistry on the board, who just ran a 4.45, I believe, at his pro day with a hurt foot, which is going to tremendously help his stock. So maybe that helps rise him back up the board. But I mean, a guy who's just he's cool in coverage. I think that's a good way to describe him. Is he's cool. He doesn't panic. He's calm. He's got an insane name. I mean, his name is Kool-Aid McKistry. That's got to get him drafted in the first round. It'd be disrespectful if he wasn't. Lock him into the Lions. Their biggest need is secondary. That was their biggest downfall last year. I wouldn't hate Tyler Nubin here with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson going, but I value Kool-Aid McKistry more.
Yeah, actually, haven't thought about Tyler Nubin. That would be a nice pick for the Lions as well. But yeah, with the Cam Sutton situation, I was fine fielding Cam Sutton to CB2, but with that, I cut Cam Sutton, get Kool-Aid McKinstry, place him as CB2. I actually really like that. Opposite of Carlton Davis, I think you did a pretty good job addressing your corner room this offseason. If you're the Lions, in that case, you get one more safety, maybe free agent or in the draft. But honestly, you're the Lions. Go get one of those high tier free agents. Justin Simmons is still out there. Perfect, perfect, perfect. You get Kool-Aid,
Oof.
Justin Simmons, Carlton Davis. They re-signed a few guys, Amik Robinson in the slot. That's pretty nice.
I think you can call your shot on that. Justin Simmons yet to sign. That's a damn good pairing right there. Justin Simmons signed with the Detroit Lions, excuse me. Dan's calling it right now on the pod.
Back to the Broncos. Stores just called it. Justin Simmons is heading back to Denver.
I'd love to see Justin Simmons not be in the AFC West unless it's on the Chargers. Justin Simmons is I can't believe he hasn't signed. It's wild. He should have been a first wave. He should have been a guy that got an absolute bag. Justin Simmons has been like an all pro the last 2 years, one of the greatest free safeties in the last decade. I don't know what's going on with that, or if he's just taking his time and is in no rush to sign.
Yeah, it is crazy. I know for a fact that he specifically didn't want to go to the Eagles, so maybe that kind of slowed some things down. But yeah, I have no idea what's up with his market.
Yeah, so, I mean, still some good, intriguing free agents yet to sign, so be still fun to talk about, and we'll announce them on the pod, obviously, when they do.
And I've been trying to stall to figure out what I'm going to do here at 30 for the Ravens. This is hard. You lose Morgan Moses, so right tackle is definitely a need. It's not as big
Right?
as a need.
Raiders? Penix?
Could be, could be, could be, but they could probably get him in the round two, early in round two.
Who, will there be any threat of anyone taking a quarterback before them?
Probably not.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm just gonna double make sure. I'll let you keep
I
stalling.
don't even think there would be any teams in the carousel left, but other than
Yeah,
the Ravens. But
I mean, because obviously Patriots in this took Cardinals, Washington, Tennessee, Panthers. No, they might they might damn be able to get him at pick 44. Yeah, they might
I
get him
think
at
they
4.
would.
Yeah, I think there's no really threat to them. So
Damn near
I
might be able to get him in the third or fourth round, honestly.
shit maybe. Yeah, I don't envy you being here at pick number 30 because I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no clue because you do lose Morgan Moses, but they're better off at right tackle than you'd think. They still have Patrick McCarry, like the perfect six-man swing tackle, and Daniel Falele, who they drafted with upside. So they still got pieces that they could plug in at right tackle. Tyler Guyton would be pretty dang electric as well to add to those pieces. I'm kind
I
of
mean,
between.
Patrick Queen is gone. Roquan and Peyton Wilson would be wild.
That would be nice. That would be a nice compliment to Roquan. They drafted Trenton Simpson last year. My only qualm would be like maybe he was the plan to eventually replace Patrick Queen because he's pretty athletic.
Yeah, that's true. Oof.
I am between uh, Chop Robinson and Tyler Guyton here. I
Ooh.
think I might go Chop Robinson though. Oh yeah, they just lost Jadeveon Clowney. I actually thought they would have brought Jadeveon Clowney back coming off of his best statistical pass rushing season. So I am gonna go Chop Robinson. You pair him with Odafe Owe, another Penn State high upside edge rusher. I really like that. Chop's just too bendy. Players like this literally come into the draft once every 3 years, maybe with bend like this, with movement skills like this, with his size, he can stop the run. I think Chop's just kind of being missed on by the NFL, and he'd be a steal right here.
Yeah, and also they're going to be losing Kyle Van Noy as well, who was a key piece. Kyle Van Noy and yeah, Jadeveon were both big additions last year who will both be probably departing. Kyle Van Noy is definitely probably gone, especially with age. Yeah, and you go get just an absolute freak. Yeah, that's a good pick. That's super solid. The 49ers, 2 picks in the first round. Troy Fautanu, number 1. Who do we got at wide receiver? We gotta replace Mr. Brandon Aiyuk. Ooh, I might like Lad McConkey here. Another really clean route runner. I think I want to do it. I think I want to do it.
Yeah, seems like a Shanahan guy. Honestly, all these guys would be Shanahan
I
guys.
know every Ricky Pearsall, Keon Coleman, Jalen Polk, Roman Wilson. I think I'm gonna go Lad McConkey though. I think Lad McConkey would, you replace an incredible route runner with an incredible route runner, and you get him on a 5-year cheap deal with the option of a 5th-year option. So yeah, Lad McConkey. What did Lad McConkey run? Didn't he run in the 4.4s or 4.3s?
Yeah, I think it was a 4.39.
Yeah, lock the kid in. Lock the kid in. I think Dan had a comp of like Deontay Johnson, maybe with even possibly better hands. Yeah, give me Lad McConkey to Shanahan. I think that'd be a really fun piece for that 49ers offense where Shanahan could use him all over. I mean, Georgia was pretty creative with him. I think Shanahan would not lack the creativity with Lad McConkey.
Oh, he would be Puka Nacua instantly in this offense. He'd be schemed open in the intermediate game. He'd be get a lot of schemed touches close to the line of scrimmage, screens. That would be really fun. He'd be dotting people up, routing people up. I really like this with all the weapons around him. It's a perfect situation. I haven't seen this one obviously, but it would be fun in the case that you lose Brandon Aiyuk. You bring in. I mean, personally, I think Brandon Ayuk's the best, most functional route runner in the NFL right now. So you bring in a new insane route runner, the best route runner in the class. I love that.
All right, Dan, cap us off with number 32 to end the mock here. What are the Kansas City Chiefs doing?
All right. Ultimately, I usually go receiver here, but man, Tyler Guyton is on the board. That's pretty dang tempting with his upside. The Chiefs definitely need tackle. Kind of the last like best tackle available. Donovan Smith is very up there in age. I think I'm probably gonna go Tyler Guyton just because all these receivers are off the board. Don't really love. I mean, Jalen Polk honestly would be the perfect complement to Hollywood and Rashee Rice, but maybe I could target that in round 2. So Jalen Polk is so beautiful right here. I'm just gonna shout that out. But ultimately, I am gonna take Tyler Guyton actually.
You'll have
Very
to see
high
it.
upside.
Yeah, that's incredible upside. The Chiefs did just get Hollywood Brown as well. They signed him, so maybe that's kind of, patch the Band-Aid on a receiver in the first round. But yeah, Tyler Guyton, another guy who was a Senior Bowl standout. His stock has just really risen. He's probably one of the more athletic tackles, and yeah, no doubt whoever the Chiefs draft will turn into an all-pro very quickly.
100%. And pretty fun, electric mock. Just lost the recap there, but
Oh
yeah,
no, Dan, no. End of the mock, Dan fumbles.
that's
Oh
crazy. It all just
no.
went away. But no, yeah, beautiful mock. A lot of good fits that we put together. Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Oh no. It's all right. We'll go through it. We'll redo it. Just so we can post it on our Instagram. So like, share, subscribe. Dan did a little fumble at the end. We're not gonna sweat it. We'll go redo it. Don't worry for the visual audience. Dan will probably throw it on the screen still. Dan, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Any exit hot takes for us?
The Carolina Panthers at pick 33 are going to stay away from a receiver. They're going to go with Peyton Wilson, the linebacker, the nice linebacker to pair with Shaq Thompson. You lose Frankie Louvu. I'm going to go with Peyton Wilson, first linebacker off the board, first pick of the second round.
You love to see it. You love to see it. Like, share, subscribe, give us some comments, give us some love. If you like the mocks and you want us to keep doing them. I think next week we might be transitioning into, if Dan agrees, to be doing a 7-round mock draft per division, and that's what we'll move into until the draft. Dan, you down?
Yeah, definitely. We'll do 7-round mock drafts for each team. So stay tuned for all the draft content, all the off-season free agency, draft grade content, positional ranking content. We've got a lot of it coming out. So stay tuned to the NFL Seekers podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.